UFC Vegas 67. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. The first UFC card of 2023. Cannot wait to get into it. Main event, Nasruddin Imavov versus Kelvin Gastelum. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And let's get into the first fight of the night. It's Priscilla Cachoeira versus Sijara Eubanks. I'm picking the side of Sijara Eubanks. I have to go with her grappling abilities and takedowns over Cachoeira, who's a fun brawler. I really like her stand-up. She does hit with some serious power. Big KO in the last fight. But I really feel like Eubanks is going to find success in the grappling. I think if she's not even just landing takedowns, she's going to be controlling Cachoeira against the cage. I have to pick the grappler here. I like Cachoeira's hands, and she's a lot more fun to watch than Sijara Eubanks. But the pick is Eubanks, unanimous decision. Expect control, expect some grinding style of grappling here. I'm not thinking a finish. I think it's going to be Eubanks out grappling her, taking her down, controlling a bit of stand-up, where Eubanks is going to be pretty capable defensively. I do think Cachoeira could land strikes, but I even think because of the threat of takedowns, you're going to see Sijara Eubanks have a little bit of striking success too. So we're going to go Eubanks, win on the cards by a decision in this one to start it off. First one of 2023. Going with the favorite in this matchup, Eubanks sitting around minus 195, and then Priscilla Cachoeira around that plus 170 range. Going with Eubanks, the favorite. Would love to fucking jump out on a dog to start the year off, but not this matchup right here. I think Eubanks will find a way to win, and I don't think this will be the most fun fight of the night. I'll tell you guys that. But still, starting it off right, Eubanks, decision. Expect grappling heavy attack here. Let's get to our next one. I am hype for this matchup. Jimmy Flick versus Charles Johnson. Jimmy Flick retired from MMA, said, I want to be a regular dad. I want to be a family man. Changed his mind and has decided to come back to the sport, and he's fighting Charles Johnson. I'm picking Charles Johnson to win. I'm actually going to pick Johnson via KO. That Cody Durden fight for Jimmy Flick, in which he won, he was absorbing some damage in the striking before an epic triangle finish. I think Charles Johnson has the edge with the striking. I don't see himself putting in dumb spots and getting submitted. I think he hits harder for sure. I think when Flick is unable to find the grappling easily, when he's not able to get a hold of Johnson, when he can't get him down, when he can't even, throw up submission attempts from the bottom and Johnson just out-muscling him, he's going to lose confidence. A guy that seems half committed to the game, like Jimmy Flick, you have to go the other way. Charles Johnson, he wants to be a high-level UFC fighter. Jimmy Flick was just contemplating doing something else. So we're going Johnson via KO. I'm thinking second or third round. I was hype on Jimmy Flick after he beat Durden and then he just shockingly retires. If the mind is not there, there's no way I can pick the fighter. So we're going Johnson for the win. I do think he'll get a KO. He's got some power. He's got KOs in the past. I know the Zhumagulov fight in the last one was a close battle and not really an A1 performance, but I think he puts it on Jimmy Flick in this one. As far as the betting odds for this fight right here, Flick is a massive dog. He's sitting around plus 300. Johnson in that minus 310 range. If this fight was as soon as Flick had beaten Durden, the momentum's there, I'm probably leaning his side. I also think the odds would be way closer, but the mentality is a huge question mark. We don't know how committed Jimmy Flick is to the game at this point, and I know Charles Johnson wants it. So I got to go Johnson, win by KO. Yes, he is a heavy favorite. I do like the knockout side, and I'm considering probably throwing down maybe a little something on that prop because I think he's going to sleep Jimmy Flick, who's got 4 KO losses in the past also. So something to note there. Johnson, win by knockout, beats Jimmy Flick. We'll see how committed Jimmy Flick is to the game coming back, but I don't like guys that say I'm retiring to become a regular guy, normal family man, and then decide to turn that full 180. Not that long ago either. What was it? About 2 years? We go Charles Johnson. He's going to knock him out. Let's get to the next fight of the night. Daniel Argueta versus Isaac Dulgarian. Listen, Isaac Dulgarian This dude can wrestle. It's D1 wrestler versus D2 wrestler. Something to note. I think that Dulgarian is actually a pretty quality prospect. I know Argueta has some decent experience now. Ultimate Fighter veteran. Fought Damon Jackson and got absolutely dominated. I think in this matchup here, he's actually going to get outworked in the wrestling department where he shines. I think Dulgarian is more explosive. I think he's got the better takedowns, and I actually think he'll have some success on top. Now, the question mark would lie around what happens in the deeper waters. What if Dulgarian can't get him down? I think he's got a pretty athletic striking style, and he's going to be able to match the Argueta stand-up, who's very scrappy with the striking, comes with a lot of pressure, and definitely will bite down on the mouthpiece and bang. But I'm going to go Dulgarian to actually pull this one off. Little bit of a upset in this matchup right here, but I think the potential's real high with this kid, and I like the Midwest chopper, Isaac Dulgarian, to upset Daniel Argueta. I don't think Argueta should be that wide of a favorite. He's not that bad right now. It's around minus 180 for Argueta and plus 160 range for the side of Dulgarian. I think he's a very good underdog. Obviously, you are betting on someone that hasn't fought high-level fighters just yet, which obviously a little bit of a concern. It is plus money, though. He does have a very good wrestling base. Look at the wins. They're impressive and dominant. He's not having close fights. Yes, none of these guys are all that great. I mean, TJ Britton, 7-2, not a bad record. Argueta's been in there with the better comp, 100%, but he still had a real close fight against Diego Silva. And then you look at his last one, he got manhandled by Damon Jackson on the floor. Now he's at his more natural weight class. Actually, no, they're doing it at 145. What am I saying? He's choosing to still fight at 45. And I think the side of Dulgarian, the wrestling, the strength, upsets Daniel Argueta. I'm just not sold on Argueta. You look at Ricky Tercios, he hasn't looked that great through his UFC run so far. Obviously, he's got some wins, but iffy. And I think Dulgarian's potential is higher. It's more about, is he ready for the moment now? I'm going to bank on yes, that he is. I'm going Dulgarian to get it done. I'm going to pick the underdog in this matchup to win a decision. And I like the higher level wrestling abilities, and I think he's more explosive too. Let's keep running up to the next fight. Allan Nascimento versus Carlos Hernandez. I like the side of Nascimento. He's the pick for me here. I don't think Carlos Hernandez is a bad fighter. He's actually real tough. He has decent boxing, scrappy fighting style, solid with the wrestling too. Nascimento definitely has the better pure grappling. His stand-up game, is still a little bit in question. We don't get to see a ton of it, but he is pretty quick and athletic. But he's super tricky to deal with when they get to the mat. He'll shoot for the legs, which is something that I like a lot here, and I actually expect him to try to work some leg locks on the side of Hernandez. Don't think it'll be super effective, though, because I do think Hernandez is going to stay pretty defensively sound. I do think on the ground you're going to see scrambles and transitions for both guys, but Nascimento will, for the vast majority, retain the more dominant position. And I also think he's going to get close to a couple submissions, but I'm not going to bank on him closing any. It wouldn't blow my mind if he won the fight by submission, so it's not a bad idea to look at Nascimento by sub prop, but I'm going to pick him win by a decision. And I do like him a lot here, but the odds are very wide. And it's not like Nascimento's a top 10 guy. The odds over 3-1 for him here. He's sitting at minus 325 with Hernandez at plus 250. I think it's a little bit of a closer fight than that. I think Nascimento gets it on the cards, and it wouldn't blow my mind if it's 29-28. I could see Hernandez having a bit of success with the boxing too, and then when they go to the floor, that's where Nascimento starts transitioning. You see that high-level jiu-jitsu, and he probably gets that hand raised on the cards. I'm going to go decision, but as I said, I don't think it's terrible to consider looking at that sub prop. Nascimento for the win over a tough customer in Carlos Hernandez, though. I will say that. I like his style. He sits down and will bang with the hands. He's got some decent boxing. He's a scrappy guy, but I think Nascimento's grappling is definitely a fair amount better, and he should win the bout. Let's keep running up the card. Next matchup, Mateus Mendonça versus Javid Basharat. The Snow Leopard is back, and I am excited as hell to see him fight. Obviously, I'm picking Basharat here. Dude's kickboxing is real legit, but he's actually showing a bit of wrestling. You look at that Gravely fight. He had moments with the wrestling. Was able to get on top of a guy of the wrestling caliber of Gravely. Mendonça is a power Muay Thai type fighter, and he has serious pop in the hands. Real KO power. But I don't think he lands on the snow leopard. I think it's going to be extremely hard for him to sit down and land these heavy punches on a guy that controls distance well, that's very quick with his footwork, a nice kickboxer from the outside, doesn't have the longest arms, but he uses his legs extremely well. And I also think if they start grappling, I'm going to favor the side of Basharat with the wrestling abilities and even from the top position. Mendonça, I know he's got some sub wins on the record, so it's not like he isn't gifted at all on the ground, or rather skilled on the ground at all. But I think Basharat's just better everywhere, and he's also got a bit of that physicality edge, 3 inches taller. I think he's a more quick guy. If it was pure punching power, I do lean a little bit to Mendonça. But I think he has a hard time finding the dome of Basharat. So I'm riding pretty high on the snow leopard Javid Basharat to be dominant in this fight and win, I think, a pretty clear unanimous decision. He's around minus 360, so another wide favorite on the card. Mendonça around plus 285. But yeah, I feel good about Basharat. I don't think it's a terrible idea. Maybe if you're propping it up to go Basharat win by decision. We'll go deep with the prop betting on this week's Best of MMA Bets, and we'll have some interesting lines to potentially play. But little sneak preview for you guys with this one. Basharat to win. I'm going to say decision. He'll outstrike Mendonça. And if they go to the floor, I think he'll have the advantage too. And I could see him on top delivering a bit of ground and pound. So we're going Basharat for the win. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card. This is an interesting matchup. It's Mateus Rębecki versus Nick Fiore. You know, Nick Fiore has a doppelganger. It's a guy that looks almost identical to him that's also named Nick Fiore. That's 3-3 as a pro. So just something to note for you guys. Random fact about Fiore. Now, I have to pick Rębecki, but Fiore is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Very gifted with his submission skills. He has 2 wins over the great Jay Ellis, if you don't know. I think Jay Ellis' record now is like 16-105, I believe. Yeah, 16 wins, 105 losses. Fiore has 2 wins over him. Those are huge. Fucking around. They're not. But he is legit with his jiu-jitsu. He's just fought nobody. I'm picking Rębecki, obviously. Let's look at the fights previously. We'll look at the odds in a second, but let's look at these fights real quick. Stefan Striegel, 5-19, 5-13, George Shepard, 8-4, Andreas Borges, that's not terrible, Jerome Mickle, 3-9, and then you see Jay Ellis, that was the rematch, 15-98 at the time. So yeah, he hasn't really fought anybody. Rębecki's actually been against some decent competition. I think that he's going to look pretty good out here against a tough dude. The New England Cartel team brings some savages, and I like the matchup. I'm excited to see what happens between these two. But yeah, I got to go with the side of Rębecki. You have to. You have to go here, Rębecki all day. His grappling skills are good. Physically strong guy from the top. I'm concerned about method of victory here, though. I'm leaning decision. I wrote down decision. I'm going to stick with decision. But it wouldn't blow my mind if Rębecki stops him. Ground and pound TKO in the 2nd or 3rd round. I could see Fiore getting worn down from that top control. Like, how often do you see, though, a guy who's 6-0 fighting 16-1? Short notice situations is really when you see it. But this matchup here, ballsy test. Fiore, he wants in for the UFC. He wants that chance. He gets it here, and I'm sure he'll get another fight. And I think he's a pretty decent prospect at just 25. But Rębecki, I think he's in the prime. I'm curious to see the level he can bring. I like this Polish cat. We're going him to win. I'm going to say decision, but it wouldn't blow my mind if he gets inside of the distance, KO, TKO, ground and pound type position here. Minus 575. It's so wide. It's like unplayable. Fiore plus 525. I don't really think Fiore would be like a great bet either. I mean, if you wanted to just close your eyes and shoot in the dark and throw Fiore, win by sub, and it would be some crazy plus money, you can. But you're probably better off, you know, I don't know, throwing the money in a wishing well and like wishing for some better upset to come through or maybe a lock of the week. So yeah, we're going to go Rębecki to win. And it really shouldn't be all that close. But Fiore, young prospect, kid on the rise. I do think he'll stick around for a bit in the UFC and develop. He's not ready for this fight, though. No way. Let's keep running up. Next matchup, we're at the featured prelim. Abdul Razak Alhassan versus Claudio Ribeiro. I'm excited as hell for this featured prelim, because Ribeiro is going to flatline Abdul Razak Alhassan. Obviously, the pick is Ribeiro. One thing I will say, I'm going to be straight up. I saw that Contender Series fight, fucking early stoppage. I thought that, yes, it was an incredible knockdown. It was a huge punch by Ribeiro, but they jumped in and stopped it way too quick. His opponent woke up. It was Ivan Valenzuela, who was 8-1. I would have liked to see Valenzuela get a chance because, I mean, the dude was pretty good too. And I was actually watching that fight with excitement. And I was excited for Valenzuela. I thought he'd be a difficult test for Ribeiro. No, one shot. It's over. Granted, it was early. But that power is real. If he lands one punch, he will flatline somebody. And Alhassan, he's been flatlined a couple times. Yes, he's got some real power. He's explosive. Actually, like low-key dangerous as hell with his high kicks. He's the judo thunder, but he's not really much of a grappler. It's not really where he specializes at this point. You think of Alhassan as a guy who's going to either knock you out or get knocked out. I'm going to lean with the side that he gets knocked out. It probably is going to be in the first round. Could happen a little bit later. But to me, this is Claudio Ribeiro's chance right here to really burst onto the scene with a guy who's willing to bang. And I think there to be hit. Reach advantage, Ribeiro. Knockout power edge. I like the hands a lot. I think his skill set's really good on the feet. Yeah, I'm a fan. I like the hooks, man. I think he's going to crack him with a hook and flatline Alhassan. It's going to be pressure forward style for both, and I think they're going to actually put on a pretty damn good fight, but Alhassan's going out flat in this one. Ribeiro, knockout win, and I think it'll be one of those wins that gets you excited about him as a prospect in the UFC. Ribeiro's around -110. Alhassan, -110. You got a pick'em's fight here. I like Ribeiro to win. I'm feeling pretty good about him getting it done. And I also really think the knockout prop is going to be something to look at. Ribeiro, KO, even money, riding with him. I think he flatlines Abdul Razak Alhassan, probably in one. Ooh, shit. It's time. Main card. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel. First fight in the main card is Umar Nurmagomedov and Raoni Barcelos. I'm picking Umar Nurmagomedov, obviously, but the odds are stupid in this fight. They're really stupid. They're way too wide. I mean, Umar, you see him at -700 at some places, -555. Barcelos nearing that +500 underdog status. Listen, Raoni Barcelos just 4 fights ago, people talking about this is like the second coming of Jose Aldo type hype. He was looked at as a future contender, even by myself. Then loses to Valiev, loses to Victor Henry. He beat Trevin Jones' ass in the last one. Dominant one-sided performance. Umar Nurmagomedov, I do think wins. I think the wrestling is a key factor. The Nurmagomedov name, come on, these guys can all wrestle their ass off. You know what's interesting though? Barcelos, he does have a win over Nurmagomedov, non-related, but Said Nurmagomedov, who's a top guy in this bantamweight division. Barcelos got a win over him a few years back. Something to note, different styles though. Umar, I do believe, has the better pure offensive wrestling. I'm going to pick Umar Nurmagomedov on a competitive decision, but if you are betting Umar Nurmagomedov as your like signature parlay piece to hold it all together, he could lose and you will be very disappointed. It's not worth it. The value is shit. And honestly, I don't think Umar is that great. He's really solid. I'd say he's pretty good. And I see him as a guy that like deserves to be ranked. But I don't even love his chances against guys like really in the rankings as he gets closer to that real top 10. I'm not overly impressed with his skill set. I think he'll be able to control Barcelos with the wrestling a bit, but I think Barcelos can have some moments striking. Umar will come back with strikes. I'm thinking it's a 29-28 Umar Nurmagomedov decision. Could be a split, but it wouldn't blow my mind if Barcelos pulls off a crazy upset. When I originally saw the odds, like I was a little bit in shock. I'm like, to me, okay, -200 is fair. 2-1, that's cool. But 5-1, even more than that, 7-1? He should not be a -700 favorite. Umar Nurmagomedov, definitely, I'm picking him to win. I'm riding with the side. I hate picking like that big of a favorite, though, that I think is in an actual fight. The odds to me should be a lot closer. That Nurmagomedov name, the bookies just overshoot the number by a fuck ton. We're going to go win, decision, Nurmagomedov. He's going to beat Barcelos, but it will be a lot closer than the lines have it here. Next fight on the main card. Ladies going after it. Ketlen Vieira, Raquel Pennington. I think this is the #1 contender fight. Like Raquel is on an absolute tear right now. 4 in a row, 2 in a row for Vieira. I'm going to pick the side of Ketlen Vieira. I think she is going to win, but also for the division's sake. Raquel Pennington, Amanda Nunes too. I don't think anyone wants to see that. You remember how one-sided their first matchup was. I would like new blood at the top, a new person to fight. I don't want to see another rematch for Amanda Nunes. I want Ketlen Vieira in that spot. I'm going to pick Vieira to win. I do think she's got the better Muay Thai. She's got more power in her hands. I feel like in the clinch, it's competitive. I have always said Raquel Rocky Pennington is the queen of the clinch game. The way she controls against the cage is very solid. She's a very physically strong girl. Who matches her in that strength? I think the likes of a Ketlen Vieira. I'm going to pick Vieira to win on the cards. Competitive decision. I'll say 29-28. I think she'll have more moments in the fight, but not an easy matchup, and I see why the odds are essentially even. Vieira minus 111. Pennington plus 102. It's pick'ems. It's near minus 110 on both sides. And it's a real close fight. Coin flip type odds. I think Vieira is going to take it on the cards. And I really feel like with this win, no matter how it looks, she probably is next for Amanda Nunes. And I'm a lot more interested in Vieira Nunes than Pennington Nunes too. I'll tell you guys that straight up. Granted though, Pennington's on a great run. She's got 4 nice wins in a row. But I think Vieira halts that momentum and gets herself a title shot. Let's keep running up. Next one is a featured prelim that I think is going to be striker's delight. Punale Soriano, Roman Kopylov. I'm going Soriano. He's going to win by KO. Kopylov is a pretty decent kickboxer, very upright. I see him as hittable down the center, and I also think that he can get hit with overhand shots. His opponent, Soriano, is kind of a bulldozer style. He comes with forward pressure and looks to throw bombs. He wants to sit down and exchange. Kopylov has quality kickboxing, but he doesn't have much power, more of a combination striker, where Soriano needs one punch. I think he's going to find it. I'm going to pick Soriano to win by KO, thinking second round if I'm going to Mystic Mac a round out to you guys, but Soriano by knockout is the official pick here. He's a lot more physically strong too, so if they are grappling, I can see it favoring Soriano. You look at Kopylov's frame versus Soriano, you see power puncher Soriano versus more of, the technician combination striker in kickboxing style that Roman Kopylov brings, and I think Soriano's going to knock him out cold and get a pretty signature win here. Kopylov doesn't have, obviously hype on his side. He's got losses in the UFC, but he's not a bad fighter, and I think this is actually a really good test for Soriano, who came in with a ton of momentum, but then he dropped 2 straight fights, and now he's coming off a nice win, good KO in the last one, and I think he probably gets another KO in this one. Let's look at the odds here. Not wide. Minus 150, Soriano. Kopylov plus 140. I like Soriano moneyline a lot. Those odds are pretty damn close. And Soriano's got some good competition level that he's now facing the UFC. And I think that he's going to put it on Roman Kopylov here. I see the hands working well for him. And I'm going to go knockout for Punale Soriano. Co-main event of the evening. Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. First, let me say, Damon Jackson, hell of a performance in the last one. Loses his brother right before his fight, and then goes out there and knocks out Pat Sabatini as a huge underdog. So, round of applause. That was sweet. Not picking him against Dan Ige, though. I'm going Dan Ige to win via KO. I think the hands are way too dangerous. If you look at Damon Jackson, yeah, he can strike a bit, but there's moments where he's so stiff. And then I look at Ige's power. I even look at a moment against Josh Emmett, knocking him down. If he hits Jackson with those same punches, he will knock him out cold. You look at Jackson's recent loss. Ilia Topuria flatlined him. He mixed it up to the body. What do I think Dan Ige does? He boxes and he mixes it up to the body and then comes high. And I think he'll knock out the likes of Damon Jackson. I know Jackson's got pretty decent wrestling, but I don't think enough so to just bully Dan Ige for 3 rounds. I think Ige is going to have success in the stand-up. He's seen high-level looks throughout his career. He's been in there with some of the best guys at featherweight, and I think he puts it on Damon Jackson in this one. I'm going knockout win, Dan Ige, thinking second or third round here, especially as Jackson slows later. I see him getting opened up with shots. I mean, if you look at his fight against Dan Argueta, that third round, Dan Argueta had moments in the stand-up where he cracked Damon Jackson. If Ige lands those same punches, it's lights out, and that's what I'm banking on here. Dan, 50K Ige by KO, and maybe gets himself 50K performance of the night bonus too. Looking at the odds, near pick'ems around minus 115 for Ige, Damon Jackson around minus 105. Close line. I like Dan Ige to win, and I like him a lot by KO. I think he beats Damon Jackson here in this fun featherweight fight. Halts the momentum and gets the momentum back on his side because Dan Ige is losing a lot of fights. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't, make sure you smash the hell out of that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Kelvin Gastelum, Nasruddin Imavov. Guys, I'm picking Kelvin Gastelum. I am riding with the OG. Nasruddin Imavov, sniper kickboxer, fights well from the outside, pretty good movement, physically strong guy, Dagestani, so he does have that wrestler blood in him. He's not an easy guy to bully with grappling either. Kelvin Gastelum's got the wrestling base, but what I like about Kelvin a lot is the boxing abilities and the cardio. He's able to go so long against top guys. Come on, look at Kelvin Gastelum's last few. Jared Cannonier goes 5 rounds. That's a couple moments, and he's in there with real power strikers, and he's still going long. Robert Whittaker, one of the best guys in the world, pound for pound, goes the full 5. Win over Heinisch, not really a great win. It was kind of a bad performance for Kelvin. The Jack Hermanson fight, weird leg entanglement. He gets tapped early. And then Darren Till, split decision in one of the worst fights ever where Darren Till was just clinching. We should have known it was over for Darren Till with that fight. Imavov on the opposite side hasn't fought someone to the level of Gastelum. Look at the Joaquin Buckley fight. Buckley is putting it on him in the 3rd round. This is scheduled for 5 rounds. This is the biggest test of Imavov's career. He has a 5-round fight in front of him against a guy who has gone 5 rounds with the best in the world. Nearly beat Israel Adesanya on the come up. Dropped Israel Adesanya, hurt Israel Adesanya. Israel really dropped him though. What am I saying? He touched up Izzy though. He had moments against Adesanya, was dropped badly by Izzy and is able to rise to his feet again and survive somehow. Kelvin Gastelum is made of iron. And he's got a great gas tank. Yeah, he probably should be at 170 and he'd be a top contender, but instead he doesn't want to cut that weight and he chooses to fight the bigger guys at 185. I think he can do it against Imavov here. I'm going to ride with the side of Gastelum. Too many unknowns for me to ride with the side of Imavov. That fight 2 with Buckley is the one where I feel concerned because I see him with the hands down in the 3rd, looking at the clock. You got 5 rounds with Kelvin Gastelum. This is what I'm thinking. I think Imavov probably takes the early rounds 1 and 2. I think Gastelum comes at him late, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to say Kelvin Gastelum by split decision. Could be a unanimous decision. I'm thinking 48-47, but a split decision wouldn't blow my mind. I think it's going to be a damn competitive fight for a lot of it, but the later rounds is where Gastelum heats up. And I mean, if Imavov really does gas out 4-5, he could definitely get TKO'd by Kelvin Gastelum. So we're going with the side of Kelvin Gastelum to win. He is an underdog, plus 180. Upset, baby. We're going for the first upset main event of the year to start it right off. Imavov at minus 210. I got to go with the experience. I like Kelvin Gastelum's chances here. Imavov's a good fighter, but I think Gastelum has the tools to break him here, man. And if it was a 3-round fight, I'd probably be picking Imavov. But in 5 rounds, that's Kelvin Gastelum's game. Imavov is going to have to really adjust that pace, which is too many ifs, ands, or buts for me. I have to go with the guy that's proven he can go long, who has fought some of the best in the world, and yeah, hasn't beaten them, but gets damn close against some of them. I mean, the fights even against Robert Whittaker, yeah, he's clearly losing, but Gastelum's always in the fight. Fights the best of the best. I like Kelvin Gastelum. I think he needs to cut the weight, drop to 170. What are we doing at 85? You could be top level at 170 pounds, but he doesn't want to cut that weight. He would rather stay at a more natural 185 and keep that little Kelvin Gastelum gut on him, man. He likes those burritos, but I'm picking Gastelum to get the win. I think he does beat Nasruddin Imavov and pulls off a pretty good upset to start off 2023 for the UFC. Guys, I'm excited for this card. I've been missing UFC so bad. We needed it back, and we got it now. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the picks in the comments. And if you don't have anything to say, if you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat. Much love, my people. Stay tuned for a week's worth of content back to the per usual schedule. Cannot wait for it. Peace, guys, and I will see you all in the next one.